Good evening, everyone. We welcome you to the sixth session of ours, that is in the series of journey of self-discovery. So, till now we have covered that how this human form of life is so special, and how scriptures are given to give us a proper direction in life. They are just like a manual for our lives. So, in the last session, we saw how all the religions talk about their existence of a omnipotent God, and how all the religions teach that ultimately there is a supreme power above all of us, and not only he is supremely powerful, but he is supremely merciful as well. But when we see the activities in this world, oftentimes it creates a lot of confusion for us. For example, when we see that the innocent people are suffering in this world, so this raises a serious question in our mind: does God really exist? And if he exists, then why he is not doing anything for these people? What kind of a God is he that his children are suffering and he is enjoying in the spiritual world upstairs? So, just like, there is a story that when the city of Rome was on fire, the king of the city, he was playing some musical instrument, completely oblivious to the fact that there is a fire. So insensitive. Sometimes people feel that maybe God is also like this. So he has just created, and he has just left it just like that. And what is happening in the creation, that is not known to him. No, all the scriptures tell that God is not only the omnipresent, he's also omnipotent. And above all, he's omniscient also. He understands, he has created everything. So he understands what is our situation right now because he is omniscient. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells that Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjuna. So whatever has happened in the past, whatever is happening right now, and whatever is going to happen in the future, everything is known to me. And not only is he omniscient, he is omnipotent also. So he understands our situation, and at the same time, he is having sufficient potency to change our situation, to help us. That is his omnipotence. And not only is omniscient and omnipotent, he is ultimate well-wishing friend of everyone. So what kind of a friend is he? That he's seeing that his children, his other friend, are suffering, but still he is not doing anything about this. So in order to understand this, we have to understand Bhagavad Gita a little deeply. And that is why today's session is about nature, action, and time factor. So essentially, Bhagavad Gita mentions 5 topics. First is Ishvara, then Jiva, then Prakriti, then Kala, and Karma. So Ishvara is God. This we discussed in our last session, how Krishna is God, how 6 opulences of Krishna prove that he is the Almighty Supreme Personality of Godhead. And what is the position of Jiva? This we discussed in our 4th session in the Science of Soul. And in today's session, we are going to discuss these 3 factors: the Prakriti, that is the nature; Kala, that is the time factor; and Karma, that is the action. Okay? How a living entity interacts with the Prakriti and Ishwar. All of this we are going to see in today's session. And then we'll come back to this question: why innocent people are suffering in this world. So first topic of discussion is Prakriti, the nature that we see around us. So there are the entire cosmic manifestation is divided into 2 parts. First is there is spiritual world, and then there is material world. The world which we are living in, that is material world. That is called as Jad Jagat. It is made up of matter. And scriptures tell that this Jad Jagat is 1/4 of the entire creation, and 3/4 is in the spiritual world, in the in the spiritual abode, where the symptoms are described in the scriptures. So material world is 1/4 of the creation. Uh, that is the universe in which we are living in. So ours is just one of the universes, and it is told in the scriptures that our universe is just like a mustard seed in a whole sack of mustard seeds. So can you imagine how insignificant is our universe, our inconceivable universe, the dimensions of which are not known to the scientist. And that is just like a one mustard seed in the entire bag of mustard seeds. And like this, there are millions and millions of mustard seeds like universes, and all of this comprise of the cosmic manifestation, that is the material world, and that is just 1/4 of the creation, and 3/4 is there in the spiritual world, that is described in the scriptures. So material world is ek pad vibhuti, and spiritual world is three pad vibhuti, that is the threefold of the creation. So here is a map of the entire universe. As you can see, Vedic science is so precise, Vedic cosmology and Vedic astronomy is so precise, it can give you a map of the entire universe. How there are 14 planetary systems, which the scriptures talk about. So our planetary system is in the middle. As you can see, there is Bhuloka. And there are 7 planetary systems below it. There is Atal, Vital, Sutal, Talatal, Mahatal, Rasatal, and Patal. Patal is the lowest most planetary system. And above this planetary system, earthly planetary system, there is Bhuvarlok, Swarglok, Mahalok, Janalok, Tapalok, and Satyalok. So broadly, sometimes it is divided into 3 categories, that is upper planetary systems, middle planetary systems, and lower planetary systems. So we are situated in the middle planetary systems. And this is the map of entire universe, and how Durga Devi, she is the shadow potency of Radharani, and she is the one who is governing this material world. Now, in this material world is described in the scriptures by 2 adjectives. First is Dukhalayam, and second is Ashashvatam. Dukhalayam. So the world that we are living in, that is an abode of miseries, that is full of problems. So as we saw in our first session, how everyone who comes to this world is suffering from 4 primary problems, 4 real problems, that is birth, old age, disease, and death. And apart from this, there are tapatraya, that is threefold miseries: adhyatmika, adhibhautika, and adidaivik kleshas. So everyone is constantly tormented with this, these problems of life, and that is why material world is called as dukkhalayam. Just like, you go to Himalaya, you are going to find snow there, that is Himalaya is abode of snow. Similarly, Granthalaya, some libraries is called as Granthalaya, that is the abode of books. Similarly, material world is described as Dukkhalayam. It is full of miseries. And not only it is full of miseries, it is Ashashvatam. So whatever little time you get from between 2 miseries, it's just like, a sandwich is there. So between 2 breads, there is some, aloo or something. So miseries, and in between some relief is there. And that relief is also what? Ashashvatam. Very much temporary. So that is the nature of this world. Dukkhalayam Ashashvatam. On the other hand, there is spiritual world, which is described in the scriptures as, these are the characteristics of the spiritual world. Every word is a song, every walk is a dance, water is like nectar, all living beings are pure, and there is no old age, disease, or death. That is the description of a spiritual world. That is, our eternal home. That is, in some scriptures, it is described as the kingdom of God. And in our Vedic traditions, it is called as Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha means the place where is no miseries, no problems. Now we have to understand that Vaikuntha is not Swargaloka. Swargaloka is also part of this material world. As we saw in the map, above our planetary system, there is Bhu Bhuva Swaha. That's like, just like we chant in the Gayatri, Om Bhu Bhuva Swaha. So Bhulok, Bhuvarlok, Swarglok, all of these are, part of this material world only. Even in the heavenly planetary system, people are miserable, because Indra, even being the king of heavenly planetary system, he is being attacked by the demons, and he is in constant anxiety that someone will come and, overthrow. If some rishi or muni meditates and he is getting powerful, then Indra becomes very much disturbed. So these problems are there even in the heavenly planetary systems. But a spiritual world is beyond that. And that is beyond birth, old age, disease, death. That is our eternal home. Now, someone can ask, then why this material world is created in the first place? Why not all 3/4 of the creation could be spiritual world? Why everywhere it should not be, Sukhalayam and Shashwatam? Why Dukhalayam Ashashwatam? Why this material world is created in the first place? So there is an interesting analogy. So just like, child, when he sees that his father is driving a car, so sometimes the child can also get this desire that I also want to drive a car. So what do you think? The father is just going to give him, okay, le beta, gari chala. तो बच्चा क्या करेगा, वो एक्सीडेंट कर देगा, ठीक है, और रोड पे बाकी लोगों को भी प्रॉब्लम करेगा. Then what father does, he takes this child, okay beta, you want to ride a car, come with me, we'll go to some amusement park like SL World, है ना. When I was a child, they used to have this advertisement on TV, SL World में रहूंगा मैं, घर नहीं जाऊंगा मैं, like this. So the father takes him to some SL World, and in the SL World, the child is, trying to drive some toy car, and he's trying, but this is just a toy car, it cannot go from, Mumbai to Delhi. So ultimately the child gets fed up, and then he tells father, okay father, you only drive. So similarly, this material world, it is like SL world for God. So those people who want to enjoy separate from God, who want to, uh, who have their own desire to be the ultimate enjoyer rather than serving God, they desire to enjoy selfishly. So that is why they are sent to this material world. Okay, you want to enjoy separate from me, so God sends such children to this material world. Okay, you try to enjoy, and ultimately, when after repeated attempts to enjoy, we cannot be happy, then we realize, okay, maybe it is time for me to go back, and then we slowly abide by his instructions and return back to his abode. So now I'm going to tell you something that is going to shock you. So material world is just like a prison house for rebellious souls. Now this might give you some shock, 250-volt shock. Why, how you can tell that? Are we prisoners? So where do you, I don't see any chains put upon me. But reality is this: yes, we are living in the prison house. This world is full of sufferings, and that is a fact that, you know this place is a miserable place, and we are sent here. We are the prisoners. Now, how to understand this? See, spirit soul is eternal. Spirit soul is full of knowledge. Spirit soul is full of bliss. Sat Chit Ananda. But right now, our condition is we are miserable, we are in ignorance, and we are not going to live forever. This body is going to die one day. It is temporary. So that is why this three things create a situation by which we suffer in this world. Now, why prison house is needed in the first place? Because government does not want to create prison house. Does not government, ideally a good government, they don't want their citizens to suffer. But we see that some people, no matter what, they are going to break the laws of state, and that is why, to rectify their mentality, set up like prison houses provided, so that they can get frustrated, and then they realize their mistake, and then they can again be reinstated in the normal society, to live with the ordinary law-abiding citizens. And also, it is there to ensure that these rule breakers, they don't disturb the law-abiding citizens. That is why this prison house is created. So actually, it is the mercy of the government that prison houses are there. Otherwise, government has other options also. If someone is rebellious, just catch all the criminals, put them in a line, and just shoot them without any trial. But the government is merciful. Okay, theek hai. Maybe in the future he is going to rectify. So prison house is like an opportunity for rectification. So that is why this material world that is full of problems, these problems are mercy of the Lord. We have to see it that way. We have to understand that because these problems are there, now I am able to realize that I am separate from the Lord, and I have to rectify my mentality, and we can take to his instructions more seriously to get out of this world. So material world is only a temporary prison house for the soul to purify his heart of the mentality to act against the nature and God. Now Bible presents it in the interesting story of Adam and Eve. So Adam and Eve were there in the garden of Eden's garden, and then they were walking with God, and God told them that this whole park is yours. You can enjoy as you want, but don't do one thing: don't eat the apple from that tree. And apart from this, you can do anything you want. So Adam and Eve, they were enjoying in the parks. Suddenly, one snake came, and the snake told Eve, "Ye le, ye apple kha." Then Eve told, "नहीं नहीं, I don't want to eat. God has forbidden this. I'm not going to do it." So, अरे क्या कर रही है? चल खा इसको. She told, "No, no, I don't want to eat it." She told. Then the snake told, "You know why the God has forbidden you to eat this apple? if you eat this apple, you will become as powerful as God. And he is envious of you. And that is why he has forbidden you from eating this apple. Just eat it. Then somehow or the other, Eve got this desire and she took one bite. And she gave to Adam also, and he also took one bite. And immediately, as they took the bites, three things happened. First thing, uh, for the first time, they realized that they were naked. Before this, they were completely oblivious to the fact that they were naked. They were not concerned. So what is the result? Bodily identification. They started identifying with the body. And then second thing that happened is they realized that she is a she and he is a he. And, they felt very much embarrassed and they covered themselves. So duality arose. Duality, dvandva. Duality between man and woman, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor, happiness and distress. These dualities are there in the material world. This is material consciousness. In the spiritual world, absolute world, there is no duality. There is everything is all good. So this duality arose between Adam and Eve. And because of that, neglecting the instruction of God, they were kicked out of the Garden of Eden and they fell down to Eden Garden, Kolkata. So like this, they were kicked out into the material existence. So now Bible can tell it in the form of a story, but essentially the same message is spoken by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. In 7.27, Krishna tells that Ichha dvesh samudhena dvandva mohena bharata sarva bhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapah. Ichha dvesh samudhena. So Ichha, first of all, the living entity gets a desire to become God. And then when the desire is not fulfilled, then what comes? Dvesha, envy, hatred for God. Now there is no place for hatred in the spiritual world. So in order to facilitate that hatred, the person is sent into material world. And because of that, dvandva mohena bharata. The living entity becomes bewildered by dvandva, duality, and sarva bhutani. All the living entities that are born in this material world, they have fallen because of these. This is the mechanism that goes on. So this is what Bhagavad Gita tells. So we accept another body after death. What is the parameter that decides that what is the next body that we are going to get? Two factors are there. First is the desire that we are having in the mind at the time of death, and second is good or bad karma, whatever actions we have performed. So just like you can go to a supermarket and I want this commodity. So in order to be able to purchase that commodity, two things are required. First thing, you should have desire to get that commodity. And second, you should have sufficient bank balance to purchase it. Similarly, what is the next body that we are going to get? This depends on the desire that are there in the mind and our bank balance, that is good or bad karma. We'll come to the topic of karma a little later. So this is how we are getting different bodies. And different bodies are created to facilitate different desires. Now someone may ask, why only 84 lakh species are there in the creation? Why not 82 lakhs or 85 lakhs? So 84 lakhs different species are there because there are 84 lakhs different desires to enjoy separate from the Lord. For example, if someone wants to eat meat, then in the next life he is given the body of a tiger to facilitate that desire. Because in a human body, if someone consumes meat, then he is 70% more likely to get some heart disease. These are some statistics. Meat is not a very suitable diet according to human body. But okay, if someone wants to eat meat, then in the next life he'll get a body of tiger or a deer so that he can eat without getting any disease. Similarly, someone, if he gets the desire to sleep a lot, then in order to facilitate that desire, he is given the body of a deer. Because bears can sleep for 6 months. Human body, you cannot sleep that much. Just, maybe 12 hours, 13 hours. The record in IIT was 20 hours. One boy just slept on Friday evening and woke up on Sunday morning, something like this. So, like this. So, in human body, we cannot sleep that much. But in order to facilitate more sleep, the body of a bear is given. Similarly, if someone wants to expose herself or himself, then he is given a body of a tree, just like a stand-up punishment. Sometimes children are given this punishment in classroom. If children are very naughty, then the teacher just tells them that you stand on the bench and keep standing for the whole period. So similarly, if someone is very much rebellious, he likes to stay naked, then that he's or she is given the body of a tree so that they can stand naked for thousands of years like this. So different body, as we see from these examples, that different bodies are created to facilitate different kinds of desires. Now, how these are facilitated, it is told in this verse, Karanam Guna Sangasya Sadasat Yoni Janmashu. So because of acquiring different natures and different desires, different living entities are born into different kinds of bodies. Now you can ask, okay, if you are telling that we are prisoners, but right now I think that I am free. I'm not having any chains bound on me. I'm not able to see any chains. But invisibly, three chains are there that are binding us. And that three chains are called as modes of the material nature. That is Rajogun, Satogun, and Tamogun. Satogun means the mode of goodness, Tamogun means the mode of ignorance, and Rajogun means the mode of passion. These three ropes are constantly controlling us. Now, how to understand this? Now, different characteristics are there. So, in this verse, Lord Krishna is telling material nature consists of the three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. When the eternal living entity comes in contact with nature, O mighty armed Arjuna, he becomes conditioned by these modes. Sometimes students ask this question after the session 4, that science of soul. If the soul is essentially part of God, then why we see so much crime in this world? Why, how the soul becomes envious? How the soul becomes greedy? This verse is the answer. Because as soon as a soul comes in contact with the in the material world, he gets covered over by the modes of material nature. Just like a light is, lamp is originally white, but depending on what paper it is covered with, it is going to radiate different colors of light. So essentially the soul, spirit soul, is part of God, that is pure in nature, but because different modes are covering, he is acting in a different way. Just like another example, pure air. Pure air is, pure air is something that is that does not have a fragrance, but depending on what it associates with. For example, the same pure air, if it flows through some garden, then very pleasant smell is going to come from that pure air. And if the same air goes over some gutter, then it acquires some bad odor. Similarly, the soul, depending on the nature that it associates with, it is going to acquire different kinds of it is going to perform different kinds of activities, and it is going to get conditioned. That is what it is meant by this word conditioning. Now, what are the characteristic of mode of goodness? Now, depending on this discussion, all of us can decide which mode we are in. No one has to tell anyone, but yes, we can understand. So here are the characteristics of mode of goodness. Tatra sattvam nirmalatvam prakasham anamayam sukha sangena bandhanti jnana sangena chanaga. So prakasham, first characteristic of mode of goodness is, first characteristic nirmalatvam. Nirmalatvam means it is purer than other. It is comparatively a cleaner mode compared to others. Then people in the mode of goodness, they live a very clean life compared to the other people who are in mode of passion and ignorance. Then prakashakam, it is very illuminating. So the illuminating means they can see clearly how things are acting, and how, they can see things as they are very clearly, very crystal clear. They can see things, and they are more likely to understand how this world is a miserable place, and they have to do something to get out of this. And that is why these people are generally very pious, and they, somehow or the other, they follow some demigod or something, some kind of worship they perform. These people in the mode of goodness, and because of this, they are anamayam. Anamayam means more or less they are free from sinful reactions, and that is why their life is very peaceful. Now, what is the problem with this mode? If everything is so nice, then why it is called as, a mode of nature? Why it is called as a chain? So, uh, third line of the sentence, Sukha Sangena Bandhanti. So, because they have some sense of happiness, because they are free from sinful reactions, they get bound up. Just like a prisoner, if he is in a class A cell. So, in a prison house also, there are different classes. For example, if someone is a political prisoner, someone has been a politician and then he goes to jail. So, he is given class A jail, that is air conditioned, and he has a lot of facilities. He can order his own food, but still that is a part of a prison house. Similarly, someone, if he is if he is a normal pickpocketer, पॉकेट मार है ना, तो उसको क्या करते हैं, क्लास बी के सेल में डालते हैं, तो वहां पे एवरेज फैसिलिटीज मिलती है लाइक दिस. एंड इफ समवन is very deadly kind of person, even inside the prison house he is going to harm others, then that person is sent into the darker darker regions of the prison house. There are some prison cells in which even light does not enter, and the person does not even know if there is a sun, if there is day or there is night, and through a small hole food is passed to him so that he can survive, and he has toilet also in the same room. He does not go out of the room, and for years he is in that room. So similarly, this mode of goodness is something like that prison A cell, but still that is part of material creation. Even a person who is in the mode of goodness, he is also going to perform good activities, and for that the good reactions will come. And as soon as reactions come, he has to accept this birth, old age, disease, and death. That is why, although this is better than others, this is better than passion and ignorance, but still it is a material bond. Even this is binding. Next, there is characteristic of mode of passion. These things are described. Rajo ragatmak viddhi. So ragatmak means they have a lot of desires, unlimited desires actually. Desires to prove oneself, desire to do something big in life, desire to establish oneself in the society. And Trishna Sangha. Trishna and Sangha are the two important characteristics of the mode of passion. Trishna means desire to have a lot of power, desire to have a prestige in the society. And Sangha means desire to associate with the opposite sex. And because of these two desires, what happens? The people in the mode of passion, they get bound up. So ultimately, they work very hard. They work very hard to establish oneself in the society. And after establishing, in order to maintain that position, their whole life's energy goes. And then they're just, in the end, they don't realize that actually valuable human energy should have been utilized for self-realization. So they just get caught up in these fruitive activities. So they perform some activities and reactions come. To get that reactions, again they have to be born again. So that is the character. These are the characteristics of a mode of passion. Now next is the mode of ignorance. Now what are the characteristics of mode of ignorance? Agyanajam means ignorance. So there are some people who are like very much ignorant. They don't care about all the rules and regulations. They just want to eat, drink, and be merry, and they don't care about what is happening in this world. Mohanam. So they are very much bewildered. Sarvdehinam. Pramad, alasya. Alasya, pramad, and nidra. These three are the characteristics of mode of ignorance. Pramad means madness. For example, some people really in this world, you will find they act in a very crazy way. Like in America, these days, so many nonsense things are going on. There is something called as, like women are coming out on the street without any clothes, and they think that this is a representation of their feminism, and this is how they are going to get equal position to men. All of this is madness actually. Similarly, alasya means laziness. So people in the mode of ignorance, not only they are lazy in terms of bodily sleep, they are also lazy when it comes to spiritual advancement. And nidra, they are sleepy like this. So these are the characteristics of people who are in mode of ignorance. So what are the destination of the people in these three modes? In Bhagavad Gita, one of the verses, Lord Krishna is telling that urdhav gachanti sattvastha, madhye tishtanti rajasa, adho gachanti tamasa. So three destinations are given. So those who are in mode of goodness, they go to the higher planetary systems, where in the Swargloka, with the demigods they live. Those who are in mode of passion, they stay on this planet only, and they acquire different species of life. And those who are in mode of ignorance, they glide down to animal species, and they glide down to hellish planetary systems. So these are different destinations. You see, Shastras are so practical. You can look around in this world and you can find how different people are acting under different modes. For example, let us say you are traveling in a bus, or let us say train, okay? And there is a seat and two people are fighting over a seat. So immediately you will find these three types of reactions. There will be some people who will be completely oblivious to the fact. So that is the people in mode of ignorance. Now, some people, when they see people fighting, they will also join and they will take sides. Arey, hut, hut, tu idhar, like this, and they will show their power. They want to prove themselves. So that is person in mode of passion. Now, some people are little sensible. They will tell, अरे क्या झगड़ रहा है इस सीट के लिए, 2 स्टॉप बाद तुम्हारा आ जाएगा, 2 स्टॉप 10 मिनट खड़े रह जाओ क्या. So they can clearly see things as they are. So that is the characteristic of mode of goodness. So practically everyone you meet in your life, you can classify them into 3 modes. Now it is not that all the people are in one particular mode only. So even a lazy person, sometimes he will do some charitable activity and he will perform some activity in the mode of goodness. Similarly, someone who is very passionate, sometimes he will also feel very lazy. And even a person who is of knowledge, he will also feel, passionate sometimes. So these 3 modes are constantly fighting amongst each other and trying to control us in different ways. And that is why it is told in Bhagavad Gita that we are constantly bound by these 3 ropes. Interestingly, in Sanskrit, the word guna also means ropes. So just like, how do you make a rope? You take 3 small strings and you tie it around of themselves, and that is how a thick rope comes out. Similarly, these 3 modes are interwound amongst themselves, and that is why to different degrees these are controlling different people. That is that are the 3 modes of nature. Now you can remember this with another interesting example. There are 3 brothers, Vibhishan, Ravan and Kumbhakarna. So Vibhishan is in mode of goodness. He can clearly see things as they are. So he gives good advice to Ravan that you have so many beautiful women from all over the universe. You have beautiful Naga Patnis, you have beautiful Brahman Patnis, you have beautiful Apsaras. Why you are concerned with this one Sita? Just let her go. And but for Ravan, it was a matter of pride and prestige. He was in mode of passion. And on the other hand, you have Kumbhakarna. He is completely ignorant. इसको फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, बस 6 महीने सोएंगे और फिर जब उठेंगे आसपास जो दिखा उसको खा के फिर सो जाएंगे. So that is आलस्य निद्रा प्रमाद, mode of ignorance. Now, how to come to mode of goodness? See, ultimately we have to understand that we have to transcend all these 3 modes. So Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna tells that Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna Nirdvando Nitya Sattvasto Niryoga Kshema Atmavan. So Lord Krishna is telling that ultimately we have to transcend the 3 modes of material nature. But in order to transcend, the platform of rising beyond the mode of material nature is the platform of goodness. So mode of goodness, although it is a material platform, but this is from where our flight is going to take off. So how to rise to mode of goodness? By adopting different eating habits. So in 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna elaborately describes what are the characteristics of the food that is in mode of goodness, what are the characteristics of food that is in mode of passion, and what is the characteristic of food in the mode of ignorance. The food in the mode of goodness, these are generally very pulpy and juicy fruits, and fatty fruits, just like milk, ghee, butter, fruits, grains. So these are the food that are in mode of goodness. Food in the mode of passion is something that is very spicy, something that is very hot, very chilly, very salty. So something that titillates your tongue. So that is the most symptom of food in the mode of passion. Similarly, there is food in the mode of goodness, that food that is, prepared more than 3 hours of food that is consumed after 3 hours of preparation. So generally it is advised that you have to take fresh food like this. So like this, or animal, meat or something like this. These are the food in the mode of ignorance. Like these days, the youngsters, they like to eat patties and all. So these things are in mode of ignorance because they were prepared, I think, 3-4 weeks ago, and you just warm it in the oven and you take it. So that is not good for health actually. And that is why you will find these days the health problems are increasing so much. Earlier, people, even old people, you find they are very healthy because they used to eat fresh food. And now what most of us are eating is junk. And that is why this refrigerator and all, we should not use them too often like this. So this is one thing. If we eat the food that is in mode of goodness, sattvic ahar, then that helps us to rise to mode of goodness. Similarly, another habit is what kind of people you are associating with. So as they say, jaisa sang vaisa rang. So the kind of people you are associating with, their modes you are most likely to acquire in your lives. if you associate with people who are very much passionate, just like some people who are preparing for a particular exams, or some people who are working in a company and workaholic kind of people, so eventually you are going to acquire that mode and you are going to act like this. Similarly, if you associate with very much people who are very much lazy, then you are going to acquire mode of ignorance. Similarly, if you associate with people who are in mode of goodness, then you also will aspire to get similar qualities. So association, this is one thing. Next is by regulating our activities. Okay? By waking up early in the morning and performing some meditation, this helps us to come to the mode of goodness. Now, something very interesting. Even the duration of day, 24 hours, it can be broadly divided into these three modes of nature. For example, morning time is more in the mode of goodness. Okay? Morning time, you will find in the nature that all the good activities are taking place. Just like uh, the ocean withdraws itself in the morning time, and it whatever is there debris in the ocean, that just leaves it on the shore, and that is a kind of cleaning process is going on in the morning time. uh, After morning, once the sun sets in, then passion comes, and you will find in nature that birds are going away from their home looking for food, and people are catching their bus, students are going to their colleges, so passion kicks in. And eventually after sunset, what do you find? Ignorance. That is why you will find most of the crimes are committed during the night time, and most of the activities which are in mode of which require mode of ignorance, people do it during night time. For example, sleep, and you know uh, many times students go for parties and all, so that you will find most of the time they go for parties in night time. Now why not in the morning time? Because that activity requires mode of ignorance, and morning time is not suitable for it, like this. So that is how even the whole duration of day can be divided into these three modes. That is why it is advisable that one should not stay up late in the night. If one stays up till late in the night, then he acquires mode of ignorance, and ignorance becomes very prominent here. So we should have this habit of developing waking up early in the morning, like this. So these are some things that can help us to rise to the mode of goodness. So just like a person who is suffering from amnesia, he forgets his past, and he forgets who are his parents, who are his relatives. Similarly, the living entity, the pure spirit soul who comes to this material world, he forgets his his love and service to God. And an analogy can be given that a magnet, okay? Just like a magnet, iron naturally has a tendency to be attracted towards a magnet. But when the same iron gets covered over by rust, so it now the magnet cannot attract him. Similarly, we as spirit souls are originally part and parcels of Krishna, and we are meant to be attracted towards Krishna. But because we have acquired these three modes of material nature, Satogun, Rajogun, and Tamogun, that is why now we have to struggle a lot, in order to polish the surface again and remove all these modes, so that the natural propensity of the soul to be attracted towards Krishna can be again revived. Now it is not that we have permanently lost it, it is just covered over. That is why it is told in the scriptures that uh, pure devotional service is not something that is to be achieved. It is already there inside us. This is something Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sache Kabunai Shravanadi Suddha Chitte Kare Hodai. So Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem, the eternal love for Krishna, is already there in the heart. And we just have to remove these external things. And that is why this original propensity of the soul is going to come up. So this was about Prakriti, the first topic that we are going to discuss today. Second topic is the time factor. So time factor can be defined in there are different characteristics of time factor as described in the Bhagavad Gita. So slowly we are going to discuss it one by one. So time factor is a powerful energy of the Lord. In the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna tells, Kalo Asmi, time I am. Why Krishna is telling like this? Because eventually you see, because of this energy of the Lord, everything is getting destroyed in the world. And Krishna shows it to Arjuna that just see, Arjuna, just wait till the 18 days. Everyone who is there in the battle, except for you 5 brothers, are going to die. So this is something like match fixing, the first match fixing in the history of the world. So Lord Krishna, even though the war has not begun yet, Krishna is predicting that all of them are going to die under the influence of time factor, which is non-different from me. That is Krishna. That is what Krishna is telling. Eventually, everything in this world is going to get destroyed. All of our relationships, which are very much, close to our heart, our relationship with our parents, our relationship with our grandparents, the things that we are acquiring in our lives, our building, our wife, our children, at the time of death, everything is taken away from us. And that is the influence of this time factor. Now people think that we can cheat God, we can, trying to transgress his laws, but that is not possible. What to speak of transgressing God? Even this God's insignificant energy of time factor, no one in the world has been able to overcome it. History has seen that there has been big empires: Mughal Empire, Mauryan Empire, Roman civilization, Greek civilization. Where are all these civilizations? Eventually, everything in this world is getting destroyed by this time factor. Nothing can sustain it. Sometimes it is described as time is described as a sarpa. It is described as a snake that kind of devours, or is devouring everything. Eventually, with the passage of time, the mountains are going to turn into powders, the rivers are going to dry up, and all of us, we are going to meet our inevitable death. Few years ago I saw one picture of a snake who was uh, catching a frog in his mouth with his fangs wide open. And while this frog was halfway inside the mouth of the snake, still he saw that one insect was going in front of him, and this frog was trying to catch that insect in order to enjoy that insect. That is exactly what is our situation in this world. So eventually we are seeing that all of us are going closer to death, but still we are not realizing it. We are not doing anything about it. We are busy just trying to enjoy the things of this world, just trying to make our life comfortable in this world, without caring for this inevitable end that all of us have to undergo in our lives. And that is what is, unfortunately, this frog mentality. This is what we should give up. An intelligent person should understand that his house is on fire, the house is on fire. It is not that, you know eh, when the house is on fire, you have to get out of the house, right? You don't have to, okay, let me take this, let me take this. You cannot take anything. The house is on fire. First you save yourself. Similarly, all of us are approaching death, but still we are feeling that we have a lot of time. So that we should not do. We should get rid of this frog mentality. Time factor activates different aspects of nature. So sometimes in you will find in, like earlier they used to show in Mahabharat, in the beginning of this B.R. Chopra's Mahabharat, they used to have this background sound coming, and there was a wheel kind of thing, and they used to tell main samay hu, like this. So why time factor is described in a wheel? Because you see everything that is happening in nature, it is happening in a form of a circle. For example, there is morning, there is afternoon, there is evening, and there is night. After night, again morning comes. So in a cycle. Similarly, there are 4 yuga cycles. Just after Satya Yuga, there will be Treta Yuga, then Dwapar Yuga, then Kali Yuga. After Kali Yuga, again Satya Yuga. Again, it is in the form of cycle. Similarly, the body is born, body becomes old, it produces byproducts, it dwindles and ultimately dies. And after death, again next body birth. So these changes are already going on in the nature. Now, an intelligent person should understand that with each setting of the sun, we are coming one day closer to death. Are we coming closer towards the aim of life? That is to return back to the spiritual world. What have we done? What we are doing in this world? So that is what an intelligent person should understand. Now, how to transcend this time factor? It is told that a self-realized soul transcends the time factor. A person who has realized that I am not this body, I am spirit soul. Now, in order to know this is one thing, you can attend our Science of Soul session, 4th session, and you can theoretically understand, okay, we are not this body, we are spirit souls. But how to realize this? Realizing this is actually a lifetime project. And that is what all the scriptures talk about, how we have to live in this world and how we have to become a self-realized soul. A self-realized soul, a person who has realized that he is not this body, he is spirit soul. Time factor cannot touch him. he just becomes unaffected by the time factor. He becomes completely fearless. Just like Socrates. Socrates, when he was caught, he was completely fearless. He told the policeman that how can you kill me? Before, in order to kill me, you have to catch me. Now, they could not understand his words, but this person was self-realized. He could understand that I am not this body, I am spirit soul, and that is why this this discussion, he was fearless. Similarly, in life of Prabhupada also, see, Prabhupada acted beyond the time factor. uh, Prabhupada used to travel from one country to another along with his disciples, and there is something called as jet lag. I hope all of you know about what is jet lag. So his disciples used to have jet lag and they used to feel tired. But Prabhupada, as soon as he lands in the country, he just adjusts his watch and continue activities, preaching, and then again night comes and again he catches another flight, and next day he's in a different country without sleep, without being concerned about the time factor. Time factor could not touch him. Although the body becomes old, but a person who realized that I am not this body, he is unaffected by it. Now you may tell कि आप तो बहुत बड़ा बड़ा बात बोल रहे हैं, लेकिन हम देखते हैं कि आपको भी डिजीज होता है. You also become old. You are also going to die one day. So I'm not doing any spiritual activity. I'm just selfishly enjoy. Also going to die. And those people who are following God's laws, they are preaching about God. They are reading scriptures. They are chanting. They are following the procedure of given by God. But they are also going to die. So what is the difference? No, actually there is a difference. And that difference can be understood with this example. So there is a cat. So cat can catch a rat with his mouth, and cat is catching a kitten with its mouth. Okay. So the activity is the same. The activity is catching someone with a mouth. But we see what are the differences, what are the experiences which a kitten is getting and a rat is getting. For a rat, the mouth of the cat is death personified. As soon as he wakes up early in the morning, if he is inside the mouth of a cat, that is the end of his story. Becomes so fearful. He becomes very much terrified as soon as he sees a cat near him. But for the same kitten, same mouth, for a kitten, it is like a shelter. The kitten is completely fearless. He understands that my mother is going to take me to the safest place, and this is the safest place in the universe for me. The kitten thinks like this. Similarly, when death comes for a spiritual person, for a person who is abiding by the laws of God, for him, death is just like a stepping stone for returning back to the spiritual world or wherever the Lord wants him to go. But for a materialistic person who has given his life for his selfish goals and expectations, for him, death is the most painful experience, because at the time of death, all the things that he has acquired in his life, they are just going to get separate away from him. But this person, the devotee, the kitten, he is not, he is not attached to anything in this world apart from Krishna. And that is why same activity is having different experiences for these two. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is story of Dhruva Maharaj. So Dhruva Maharaj, when his time of death comes, so he becomes ready, and then the Vaikuntha plane comes, and death personified comes in front of him, and he steps on the death personified and goes back into the plane and returns to the spiritual world. So for a devotee, death is just like a stepping stone towards eternal life. So that is why the experience is not the same. Although the activity may look the same, he's also died, she has also, devotee has also died, a materialistic person has also died, but they are getting different experience. So this was about time factor. Now the last topic of today's discussion, that is karma. Now what is the definition of karma? Karma is the activity performed by the living entity conditioned by the three modes under control and purview of time. Very technical definition. So this definition will help you understand how living entity, the jiva, that is one factor that was discussed in the beginning that was discussed in the session 4. Jiva, who is conditioned by the three modes, prakriti, okay, under the control of time, kala. So how jiva interacts with prakriti under the control of kala, that is what is karma, the activity. Now law of karma. In very simple terms, law of karma can be told like this, that for every action there is equal and opposite reaction. Bible says that as you sow, so shall you reap. Same, essentially the same message is told in Bible also. So law of karma, according to law of karma, whatever thoughts you are having, whatever actions you are performing, whatever words you are speaking, everything is going to bring about certain reactions. Just like we affect the environment, similarly the environment is going to affect us. That is what is law of karma, and that is why it necessitates us to be very thoughtful before performing any action. We should be very thoughtful what could be the repercussions of this, because eventually we have to face the consequence. No one can escape the laws of karma. The laws of God are so stringent. There was a very nice quote I had read somewhere, that the mills of God's laws, they grind slowly, but they grind exceedingly fine. See, such a wonderful statement. The mills of God's laws, they grind slowly, but they grind exceedingly fine. So God's laws, they eventually, time may come. It may take some time for the reaction to come, and the person may think, okay, I am very intelligent, I have done something wrong and I am escaping with this. No, God's mill, it takes time, it grinds slowly, but it grinds very fine. Not a single grain of wheat can escape the grinding. That is how careful these laws of nature are. That is why we should think before acting, and we are accountable for each and every action that we are performing. Now we are going to discuss some characteristics of this law of karma, some preliminary understanding of law of karma. So two factors are talked about in the scriptures. There is destiny and there is endeavor. So destiny means that ultimately everything is controlled by higher powers and I don't have any control over it. Just like कुछ लोग बोलते हैं क्या करे, मेरा किस्मत ही ऐसा है. That is called as दैववाद in the Vedas. That is called as दैववाद. On the other hand, you have some people who believe in karmavad. Karmavad means everything is under your control, and although the destiny may put you in adverse situation, you can come out of it. Like sometimes they show in some self-help motivational sessions, you can win, you can do this. बस आईने में देख के अपने आप को बोलते रहो तुमको जीतना है, like this, and you will win. So what is the correct understanding? Is everything controlled by higher powers or is everything under our control? No, actually both are incorrect and both are correct to different degrees. Now I'll give an example through which you can understand. Let us say you sow a seed, okay? And now you have sown the seed, but is the rains under your control? No, rains are under the control of higher powers, and both these activities contribute equally to the growth of that particular seed that you have planted. That is why there is our endeavor and there is Lord's mercy. Just our endeavor is not going to bring the result, and just Lord's mercy is also not going to do the needful. That is why we should have a balanced understanding of destiny and endeavor. So law of karma is something that necessitates us, so you can perform some things, but still result is not in our hands, because there are some higher powers that are governing this. Second thing about law of karma is the choice is never taken away. So you always have a choice. You have, let us say you have 100 rupees note, and you can purchase a glass of milk or you can purchase a glass of liquor. So the choice is never taken away. You have the choice. Now after making the choice, you don't have a free will. You have to face the reactions. Now you cannot say कि अरे मेरे किस्मत में था ये क्या बोलते दारू का बोतल पीना. नहीं, it is your conscious choice, and that is why law of karma is very much logical, because you have made the choice. Because as soon as there is choice, there is responsibility, and wherever there is responsibility, one should understand the consequences, and that is going to help us make better choices in our life. So but we have the choice. You can take this liquor bottle or you can take this glass of milk, and based on what you are taking, now result is not in your control. The control is till the time you choose. After choosing, everything is going to happen under the influence of destiny. Just like if you take if you take some liquor, then eventually your liver is going to fail in a few years. And if you are taking milk, then it gives good health, like this. So that these are the reactions, that is the influence of this destiny. And that brings us to the point of what is the purpose of the scriptures. So scriptures tell about what are the consequences that you are going to have for a particular activity that you are going to perform. That is why scriptures tell about two things: there is vidhi and there is nishedh. So vidhi is the do's that we are supposed to do, and nishedh are some prohibitions which you are not supposed to do. So just like scriptures recommend four things, four do's are there. That is shaucham, tapa, satyam, daya. Shaucha means cleanliness. One should live a very clean life. And tapa means austerity. We should be ready to perform austerity. Austerity means taking some voluntary pain for better, for long-term satisfaction. That is austerity. And similarly, there is tapa, shaucha, daya. So one should not unnecessarily harm other living entities. For example, meat eating and all these things comes under don't, because the do's is it compromises this mercy aspect, this daya aspect. So like this. So we always have a choice that we can either think to simply eat, drink, and be merry, and based on that choice, there's a different destination, and or we can choose a life of responsibility, and that is going to take us to a different destination. This conscious choice is in our hands, but what destination we are going to get, that is what is destiny. Now you may tell, even in scriptures, sometimes certain prohibited things which are, not recommended, for them also some sanction is given, some concession is given. For example, let us say someone wants to eat meat. So scriptures tell that you should not eat meat. But still, Vedic scriptures are so nice that it accommodates everyone. And if a person is interested in eating meat, then the Vedic recommendation, the Vedic process is that person should offer it first to Kali, should perform this sacrifice in front of the goddess Kali, and then he can take meat. And now it is not that you can, perform this sacrifice every other day. There is recommendation that you can do it only on the Amavasya night. So only 2 days in a month, you are going to have this opportunity of killing a goat. And not only this, the person who is going to eat the meat, he is supposed to kill. It is not that you just go to market and you purchase it. No, that is not the method that is recommended in the scriptures. The person who is eating meat, he is supposed to kill, and before killing, he is supposed to chant some mantras in the ears of that goat. What are those mantras? The meaning is mamsa. Mams means in that is the Sanskrit word. Mamsa khadati iti mamsa. It is told that what I am eating you right now in this life. So in the next life, you eat me. That is what the person who is killing is supposed to tell in the ears of that goat who is going to get sacrificed. So that is why this, after following so much rules and regulations, this person is going to kill and he is going to eat the meat, and that too for once or twice in a month. That opportunity is there. So that is a concession, but that is not a license that you can indiscriminately, maintain big slaughterhouses and you can kill animals. And eventually, through following of shastras, the person is going to realize that okay, I am performing so much harm, so much trouble, so much disturbance to this living entity just for the satisfaction of my tongue. Better not do this, and that is why the person gets purified. So concession is not license. Now you may tell that animals are eating, lion is eating meat. If a human beings are also social animals, they say like this. So why humans cannot eat meat? So we have to understand that law of karma is applicable only to human beings. Why law of karma is applicable only to human beings? Because animals act on based on their instinct. Animals do not have discrimination power between what is right and what is wrong. Sometimes when I was a child, I used to see in my science books, there used to be herbivores, animals who eat, plants. Then carnivores, animals who eat animals. Now, what about human being? Human being is omnivore because he has this choice. He can either eat this and eat that, and based on the choice he is making, there will be different reactions. That is why law of karma is only for human beings, because human beings have this discrimination power, and that is why scriptures are meant for human beings. and human beings are supposed to take guidance from scriptures. It is not meant for animals. Now, this is something very interesting. Now, this is going to answer the beginning question, why bad things happen to good people. You see, in nature, you will find that some for some things there is instant reaction that is given, whereas for some things there is delayed reaction. The reaction comes after some time. For example, let us say if you touch fire, instantly it is going to burn you. So that is an example where your nature is giving you reaction immediately. Now, a person who is smoking, immediately after smoking, he may not realize. After years of smoking, his lungs are going to get affected. So that is an example of delayed reaction. Similarly, if someone eats something, eat some vada pav here and there, then maybe next day he is going to get dysentery and lose motions. So the reaction is coming after one day. Now, similarly, in this nature, in the arrangement of nature, we find that some reactions can take lifetimes also. That is why we find, although this person is acting nicely in this life, because he has some unsettled account in the past life, that is why in this life he is getting miserable. Now, when I was explaining this in my college, one of the students challenged me, ये तो आपके भगवान के लॉ में गड़बड़ी है, ऐसे कैसे? पिछले लाइफ का उधर ही अकाउंट सेटल करना चाहिए था, इधर अगले लाइफ में बेचारा सब कुछ अच्छे से कर रहा है, एकाएक से उसके साथ कुछ एक्सीडेंट हो गया, ये तो लॉजिकल नहीं लग रहा मेरे को. Then I explained to him, no, it is not like this. You see, let us consider one example. A person, he kills one person. Then what is the punishment that he is going to get according to the Indian laws? So he may get a life sentence or he may get death penalty. Okay. So let us say there is another person who kills 8 people. What is the punishment for him? For him also same punishment, that he is going to get either life imprisonment or he is going to get death penalty. Now, how is it logical that a person who is killing just one person, a person who is killing 8 people, both are getting the same punishment? Because this life, one life, is not sufficient to account for all the reactions that a person is supposed to get. That is why in the next life, the unbalanced reactions are given. So we can think that we can cheat God and God's laws, but ultimately law of karma is very, very powerful. And what is the problem? Why we are not able to understand this? Because we see a person only from his womb to the tomb, only from the person, only when till the time he is in the womb of his mother, and from that time till the time he goes to the tomb, that is he dies. So in between an interval, we are watching a person and we are not seeing his past life or his future life. That is why we feel that there is some injustice. But law of karma is actually ultimate justice. Now, similarly, there are individual reactions and there are collective reactions. For some actions, there is individual reaction. A person himself suffers. And for some reactions, there is a group of community. There may be a particular family, a particular village, or a particular nation, particular religious group, or maybe the entire humanity has to suffer for some reactions. So it is nature's arrangement that the people who are going to undergo similar reactions, they are brought together by the forces of nature, and ultimately in one shot, everything is finished. Just like there is genetic diseases. So why genetic diseases are there? So medical science may tell, okay, there is something that is flowing through the genes. There is some impurity that is flowing through the genes, and that is why grandfather is also suffering from the same disease. Father is also suffering from the same disease, and son is going to suffer from the same disease. But a higher understanding is this: why these particular people are born in this particular family? Because it is governed by the laws of nature. People who are going to have a similar kind of reactions, they are brought together in the family, and that is why this whole family, this genetic disease is flowing. Similarly, you will find there are accidents, plane crashes, or maybe earthquakes. In this also, people in a particular region, people who have to undergo a particular kind of reaction, they are brought together, and in one shot, their karma is nullified. Now, uh, sometimes you may find like this World Trade Center, when it was attacked, so there was some people who did not go to office that day, and some were sick or someone had some business other than office, so they skipped the office, and that particular day World Trade Center was attacked and hundreds of people were killed. So after this, they were inquired, why you did not come to his office. The people thought that maybe these people are behind, these people are connected with those who are organizing this crime, but they couldn't find any valid reasons. And that is why sometimes you will find that there is a flight that is supposed to take off, and a person who is supposed to catch the flight, he misses the flight and he gets some stuck in some traffic jam, and the flight, you know, that meets with an accident, all the people die. Now this person is going to think that this is such a wonderful thing, and in place of that person, because there was some vacant seat, some other passenger was appointed and he died. So like this. So all of these are happening under the higher influences of the nature, under the forces of nature. So although we see in these accidents, nature is creating killing in masses, but it is not killing indiscriminately. It is not that every person is killed. A person who is supposed to be saved is saved anyways. A person who is supposed to die, no one can check it. Here is a very interesting example. Ignorance of laws is not an excuse. Something very interesting. Now someone can think, अरे तू इतना शास्त्र पढ़ा है इसीलिए तेरे को इतना डर लगता है ये सब करने में. मेरे को देखो, मेरे को कुछ पता नहीं है, मैं कितना बिंदास जी रहा हूँ लाइफ. No, ignorance of laws is not an excuse. Just like, you know, I was few months ago, I was in Kharagpur. So regularly I had to catch, because I had to come to Bihar and again we have to go to Kharagpur. So I caught one local train and the train was completely empty. And I securely sat on one seat. On one particular station, some policemen came and they told me, get out. I asked, what is the matter? They told, first come out, we'll tell you. Then I came out of the station, I came out of the train. Then they told, we are going to fine you 5,000 rupees. I asked, why you are going to fine me? They told, you were sitting on a seat that was meant for the disabled people. Now I told, disabled people. Actually, the whole train was empty. I could have sat anywhere. But I told him that I don't know. I didn't knew that this is a law that we are not supposed to sit on the disabled seat. And ultimately, there were no disabled people around, so you can sit. They told, no, sir, this is not the way. If you are sitting on the seat, you have to be fined. So I was caught like this. So just ignorance of the laws, it is not an excuse. Because someone is taking the facility of that train, he is supposed to know the laws that he is supposed to follow. Similarly, a person who is he is driving on the road, he is supposed to know the traffic rules. He cannot tell that I didn't know that you have to drive on this side and I didn't know that you have to slow down, you have to what this different traffic signals indicate. No, because you are driving the car, you are supposed to know the laws. Similarly, all of us have got this human form of body. And in this human form of life, we are supposed to inquire, we are supposed to read the scriptures and lead the life in a very responsible way. Not ignorance is not an excuse for us. We see laws of nature are acting like this. If you touch a fire, it is going to burn. Now you cannot tell that I didn't know of this law, or you cannot tell that I don't believe in gravity. I'm just going to jump from the building. Whether you believe it or not, whether you know it or not, if you are jumping from a building, gravity is going to act, and you are going to die. Another characteristic of karma, pious and sinful activities do not nullify each other. आप लोग में से कुछ को लग रहा होगा कि चलो एक कॉपी लेते हैं, अच्छा जिंदगी में ये अच्छा काम किया था इसकी एक लिस्ट बनाओ, 4 अच्छा काम किया, और जितने बुरे काम किए उसकी एक लिस्ट बनाओ, 4 अच्छा 4 बुरा, बैलेंस, so account clear. No, it is not like this. For pious activity, you will get some good reactions, and for your impious activities, you will get some bad reactions. These two cannot nullify, cross each other. Just like if a person has done a lot of charity, then in his next life he will be born in a rich family, so that he does not have any scarcity of money. But because he has done something wrong to others, he might get some disease, some terrible disease right from the birth. Okay. So this is what we understand. Pious and sinful activities do not nullify each other. Next characteristic, something very interesting. Both pious and sinful activities are binding. Now, why pious activities are binding? Because when you have performed some pious activities, you have to get good reactions. And in order to get those good reactions, you have to take a material body, and material body is a source of miseries. Again, birth, old age, disease, and death. And that is why even you should not perform pious activities also, you should not perform impious activities, sinful activities also. How, what to do? Now, this raises a serious question. In this world, we are supposed to act, but for every action, whether good action or bad action, you are going to get reactions, and you are going to have to come again to this material world, and you have to suffer from birth, old age, disease, death. So, what is the solution? How can one break free? How can one be freed from this action reaction chain? That is spoken by Bhagavad Gita in the last chapter. This is the conclusive verse of Bhagavad Gita. Sarv dharman paritejya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shucha. Krishna is telling, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So, surrendering to Krishna, surrendering to God and His laws are the solution by which we can end the cycle of birth and death. We can end this chain of actions and reactions. Krishna is telling, Aham tvam sarva papebhyo. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Ma shucha. So that is what we have to do. That is something that is called as akarma. Akarma means the activity for which there is no reaction. You may tell, Arey, abhi to bataya tha, for every action there is equal and opposite reaction. What is this akarma? So this shall be our topic of discussion in next class. So it is not that activity alone does not make anything, spiritual or non-spiritual. It is the consciousness with which it is done. For example, let us consider the Mahabharat war. Duryodhan was also shooting arrows and Arjuna was also shooting arrows. So both were performing same activities. Both were doing the same activities. But one hand, we see Arjuna was getting more and more liberated. But this Duryodhan, he was getting more and more bound up. He was, so this way we understand activity alone cannot decide whether it is spiritual or it is material. So same activity can be liberating for also for one person, and same activity can be binding for us one person, depending on what is his consciousness. Is his consciousness aligned with the consciousness of Lord, or is it something that is centered around his own self? So that is this understanding. So this is the last slide of today. We have to understand that life is a preparation and death is the examination. So just like for every college exams, mid semester, end semester, there is a lot of preparation that is required. Similarly, death is the exam that all of us have to give one day. We have to undergo this death. So before the next death comes to us, are we prepared? Have we lived a life of following God's laws? Have we lived a life of spiritual cultivation? That is going to decide what is going to happen to us at the time of death. Whether we are going to be like a kitten in the mouth of cat, or whether we are going to be a mouse in the mouth of cat. So this shall be our topic of next discussion, life apps. How to live spiritually in the material world. Just like a lotus flower. So lotus flower, although it is growing in the mud, it is not getting affected. Even in a contaminated environment, it can grow and it can blossom and it can provide sweet fragrance. Similarly, that is what all the scriptures are telling us. How to live spiritually when we are in this contaminated material world. That is what we are going to discuss in the next section. Please do come to our next session, and that is if you miss that session, then it will be something like you purchase a ticket but you did not board the train. So in this next session, we will going to practically tell how to apply these teachings in our day-to-day life. Till now, what we have discussed is just theory. So in the next session, we are going to discuss what are the practicals that we are supposed to do. So I thank you all very much for attending this session. Please come to our next session.